for anybody else.
Yeah, I think now we are live.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, welcome YouTube to our discussion today. We are talking about echo chambers. Echo chambers. And what informed this topic? Many things. One of them has been our policy as SAS-K. We've always maintained the idea or the option of inviting believers among us. Like if you're having a video shoot, hangout, we encourage believers to join us. In the last video shoots that we had about around 4 or 5 of them who attended the meeting. Then in our Zoom meetings, these days they're not as many, but at least we usually have 1 or 2 believers in our midst. And the reason why we did that was because we don't want to have an echo chamber. So already, right out the gate, I have to declare that I think echo chambers are problematic. And that's the general consensus for most people, that echo chambers are a net negative in society. They're not good for us. But we'll get into those details later. I'm just giving a background of what informed the topic choice. The other one was personal. The other one was personal. 2 weeks, was it 2 weeks ago? Or yes, I believe 2 weeks ago, I uploaded a video on my TikTok account that targeted Manosphere followers, right? I was calling out one of their leaders, and those guys, they rained down on my comment section. They really, really trolled me, and I realized, hey, there's an echo chamber. There's an echo chamber out there. Men have their echo chamber, even women. You know, we are not going to be on any high horse here. Even women have their own echo chamber. Like, there's so many divisions that are taking place on social media out there. So I wanted us to delve into it, look at how it manifests, the reasons why they're increasing, echo chambers are becoming rampant in society today, and also how to avoid belonging to an echo chamber. Because at the end of the day, we are skeptics, and in the Society of Kenya, we are skeptics. You know, we focus on evidence, we focus on facts, not biased opinions, right? So that is the goal. Let's dive into the first subtopic. Let's define echo chambers and probably give examples of a group you feel, a community you feel is an echo chamber. Maybe you're even in one. You're honest enough to admit you're in an echo chamber. Yes, definitions, guys. Please feel free to raise your hand. Yes, Morioki, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. For me, I'll say it's looking for acceptance. And SAS-K is one. Looking for like-minded people who think like you. although it's not always the same. Okay, we differ, but at least SAS-K don't believe in a God or religion. Yeah, thanks.
Morioki, I have to push you on that one because that definition would encompass any community. Are all communities echo chambers?
Online. Okay, is it online? Online.
Are all online communities echo chambers? To you?
Okay, it's like you're looking for acceptance. You're looking for people who think like you, and then you want to support who support your views.
That is an explanation of why, according to you, echo chambers form. I want a definition.
Of echo chamber.
Mm.
Okay. It's a group of okay. When I say it's a group, I think online where people have views, and those views shouldn't be opposed. They should stay that way. So any opposition is rejected.
Aha! Now we are getting somewhere. Yeah. The initial definition you used was too general, and it actually just covered any community, which is not accurate. Now, when you bring in the element of not allowing other opinions, we are starting to get there to the essence of an echo chamber. Can you think of an example of a group that's an echo chamber that does not allow other opinions?
Okay, right now I don't have any. Yeah.
Okay.
Because right now I don't have any.
Okay. Thank you. Next is Ndebe.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. No, I hope we are not an echo chamber, but I'm going to check with AI. Let's check with AI and see what an echo chamber is, or rather the definition. An echo chamber is an environment, first of all, such as social media. I don't know why they start with social media, but the workplace can also be an echo chamber, a choir, a church congregation, a church particularly. Religions make very good echo chambers because you read from one line. Political parties. AI did not pick on these things. I'm just adding political parties. And they say that originally the term comes from audio engineering. Obviously, echo, it beats, the sound beats around and you hear the same thing from back and forth. Obviously, we know social media has that. And the psychology behind echo chambers thrive on human psychology, primarily confirmation bias. We just want to hear that we are right. We want to hear that what we believe is what everybody else believes in, so that we don't stick out. We don't stick out like a sore thumb or like a tooth. Otherwise, you'll be hit back into place. You have heard the one about the nail that sticks out, and that gets it gets hammered in. So yeah, so I think that is one about echo chambers. And so that's how social media becomes one of those, the echo chambers. And then the big one for me, is political parties, religion, and traditional workplace. Those are, to me, that is what I would say when you are talking about echo chambers. That is what you are talking about, where you can be sure that your opinions are always right. Nobody's going to challenge them, particularly if you are the boss. Thank you.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it that way, that last bit on the workplace, but it makes a lot of sense that it is indeed one. And thank you so much for those examples, as well as clarifying the definition. Do we have any other person who would like to define echo chambers, maybe list qualities that would make you classify something, a community, as an echo chamber, and examples of groups that are echo chambers? The ones that you'd like to add on top of endeavors. Any other contributor? Okay, since I don't see any other hands that are up, I'll give my contribution as we start to think of the next question or subtopic, which is, what are the causes of echo chambers? Why do we have many echo chambers now, today, but also generally in human history? Why have we had echo chambers? And contrary to popular opinion, they're not just online. Maybe the online world has exacerbated them, but echo chambers have existed as long as human beings have existed. So what are the causes and what are the catalysts, the things that accelerate formation of echo chambers? So consider that question as I give my contribution. Yes, I agree with most of you on the definition. An echo chamber, especially what Ndeve talked about, that its origins are from sound engineering or physics, where you have a room, a chamber, so to speak, which creates or bounces back the sounds that are emitted. So there's an echo in that room. So when that translates to information, an echo chamber is a situation in which people only hear opinions of one type or those that are similar to their own. It's like you're insulated from contrary opinions. You only hear what you want to hear, one type of information. And there's an, what's the word? Antonym, synonym. Okay, synonym, I guess. Yes. There's a synonym called filter bubble. People often use echo chamber and filter bubble interchangeably, but there's a slight difference. The filter bubble is an echo chamber that is created by internet algorithms. Yeah. So that one is exclusive to the online world, the filter bubble. Now, in my view, what are some examples of groups that I consider to be echo chambers? The one I gave, the first example I gave you guys of those guys who descended on my TikTok comments because I had touched their dear leader. Yeah? And they're Kenyans, by the way. Me, all my content is Kenyan. I only focus on current events in Kenya on my TikTok account. So those people came from the manosphere, the Kenyan manosphere. I think that's an echo chamber. I also think there's a femisphere. There's a certain group of women who hate men, they're misandrists, or they are manipulative towards men. They're narcissists who are bent on taking advantage of men. And they portray men as these stupid, gullible individuals. Yeah, so there's a femisphere. Sometimes they go with the title divine feminine or soft girl era, those kind of content creators. I think that's an echo chamber. Alt-right, alt-left in politics, extreme conservatives, extreme liberals, those are echo chambers. Political parties here in Kenya, we are now having anti-Ruto echo chambers versus pro-Ruto echo chambers. So that's a very serious problem. Then conspiracy theories, we have flat earthers, we have people who believe the moon landing was fake, and many other conspiracy theories. They tend to live in echo chambers. Then incels, which could be argued is a branch of the manosphere, but yeah, incels. Neo-Nazis, modern day Nazis, that's an echo chamber. I would also add Africans versus racists that target Africans. Like, okay, not Africans, but let me say the Afrocentric individuals. There's a way it can be taken to the extreme where now you romanticize Blackness or Africans. You make us look like these gods. So there's that category. But to me, actually, the worst evil are the racists towards Black people. And then there are Black people who actually fall in the latter camp. There's this dude on YouTube called Bantu Diaries. I used to watch his content, Bantu City Diaries. I used to watch his content previously, and I thought that he's very forward, very direct when it comes to our mistakes as African leaders. But then I realized he's actually a racist and he wants us to bring back colonialism. So yeah, those are some examples. Even universities, finally. Some universities can be echo chambers where they just want progressive ideals. Anything conservative is again shunned. So that's what I would say. Let's hear from you guys on the second subtopic, the second question. What are the causes of echo chambers and what catalyzes them? What is causing this rapid rise in echo chambers today? Please feel free to raise your hands. Yes, Morioki, go ahead.
Okay, first is a religion an echo chamber. Churches are those echo chambers?
Yeah, it
I'm asking
depends
that
on
question.
how.
Yeah.
In my view, I think many are, but it depends on how the church or how the religion is practiced. Yeah. Why? Why? Because are you answering question 2?
Yeah, okay, because maybe the fear of change could cause that fear of change. The human beings fear change, so that can cause an echo chamber. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we gravitate towards the same things. Thank you. Yes, I see Chilu's hand is up. Welcome. Let's hear from you.
So I think that social media definitely causes echo chambers, mainly due to algorithms, because whenever you watch one thing, you get recommended more of that. So, for example, if you're in the US and you watch some right-wing content, like some Republican content, YouTube or Facebook or Instagram is like, or TikTok is likely to recommend to you more right-wing content. Likewise, if you watch like left-wing content or like Democrats, contents from Democrats, then you're more likely to get recommended such content. And even with the television, because at least with television, you kind of at least know how they lean. So, for example, traditionally, CNN and BBC are more left leaning, whereas Sky News and Fox News are more right leaning. So at least you're more aware of that. But with social media, you're unaware because it's not going to recommend to you what you're not interested in. So you might have to go out of your way to look for information that's contrary to what you've been seeing or to what you believe. So I believe social media is a huge contributing factor to that.
Very well said. It's like a rabbit hole. Aha. Next is Ndebe.
Thanks, Dorcas. I'm going to be controversial. So, warning. I think that it's the cause is lazy thinking, or rather being unwilling to do the heavy lifting of having to think deeply about a subject, or rather the laziness comes from, oh well, Dorcas says this and it seems to make sense, I'm not going to think more about it, I'll just rest, I'll relax and not have to expend any mental energy on this subject. That, to me, is what is a cause that people, and I don't know why people do not want to have to think about it and just accept things as they are, because that is also how scammers work. They work on us being able to be in that echo chamber that says that I can invest something and get out 110% within a month or within 6 months. And I'm not going to be thinking about it. Oh, how is that going to work? Oh, no. They said that I can make this much and I'm happy. Hey, who wouldn't be happy with 110% rate of return? Who wouldn't be happy with that? So, but that to me, definitely, that is lazy, and that's how the scammer benefits, because we do not want to do the heavy lifting of critical thinking, of asking ourselves, wait a minute, how is this even right? So being an echo chamber works the same way as scam works. I think that is very controversial. I better get out of that. Yeah. So it is, yeah. Maybe because debate was not encouraged early in our life, in our schooling, because I remember when we would do debate, people would actually be very creative and come up with very crazy reasons why people should not wear uniform, or people should not be in boarding schools, or people should not be in unisex schools. At least debate allowed us to not be an echo chamber about a certain subject. And I think that was the beginning, that made a good breeding place for minds that are not lazy, for minds that are able to come up with some thought about a subject, no matter how ridiculous. You know, when you are in Form 1 or Form 2, it can be ridiculous what things you come up with. When the debate is tomorrow, you better have your points. So that's now why I would say that it is a good breeding ground for echo chambers is laziness to think, or unwillingness to put the energy into it. Thank you.
Aha. Listening to some other person's views rather than thinking for yourself. a very important aspect of forming echo chambers. Great, I see the Reba's hand is up. Oh, I saw that it is pronounced, he corrected somebody on the open group, Derefa. In the Kikuyu way. Yes, karibu.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, it's Derefa Washege. That's the right pronunciation. And I wanted to build upon Nini what Deva has said. By the way, you're not being controversial. You're just speaking the truth, in my opinion. And there's I wanted to talk about biases, and biases are not just in my way of thinking are not just concepts that you bring about in a conversation. You say, there is something called confirmation bias. There is I am not biased bias. There is whatever bias. I think biases are somehow some kind of a default state of the human mind, and it is upon the human mind to go against that. It's like going to the gym. You are fighting against that default state. So I had someone define critical thinking as you have a theory about something, and then you try as much as possible to disprove that theory. So you're going against the the default position, which is confirmation bias. You shouldn't go look for people who for views that will prove your theory to be wrong, to be right, but you should go looking for information that will prove you wrong. That is what. So critical thinking is trying, thinking of how your theory could be wrong. And in light of our conversation, I think it is the default state of the human mind to celebrate and rejoice views that make us feel comfortable. But when something feels controversial, something puts kitu inachokoza our ego kidogo, it becomes threatening to our ego, and we grow somehow defensive. So to cut the story short, I was trying to say that one of the main causes of the encouragement of or like kitu yenye inafanyanga hizo echo chambers exist sana ni the fact that we as humans tunapenda ku protect our ego, and we are not taught, maybe in school, I guess Devi may point out this briefly, we were not taught how to embrace new information ama challenge our own views. So it is not it is not common, it is not commonly known, si ati ni kitu ya kawaida ati unaweza kosolewa alafu go like, I was wrong, you are right. But that is a place where you work towards. Inahitaji a lot of mental strength kukubali kukosolewa, as compared to confirmation views zenye zina confirm your default position, which in some way ina encourage your I guess echo chambers. So, yeah.
All right, very well said, Derefa. I think that idea of confirmation bias is deeply ingrained in us. I'll give my take on causes and catalysts of echo chambers, and I request that we contemplate on the next subtopic, which is what is the problem with echo chambers? Why are they so bad in the first place? Why is it a net negative in society to have many echo chambers? Okay, so let's think of that question as I give my contribution. Yes, I am in agreement with all of you on the role that social media plays, and even just the internet in general. I think human beings tend to be more civil when they see each other face to face. But when you're behind a screen, mediated by some social media platform, that person that you're chatting with would be what? Would just be a character. They wouldn't be real in your mind. So you tend not to be civil towards them. And when you disagree with them, it tends to cause a lot of negative vibes, negative exchanges between you. And in response, people just walk away. Like they can exit the group if it is a WhatsApp group. They can exit the group if they're disagreeing with people. Like I've seen so many gay men, and there was a bisexual woman on our group some time back, and there were several gay men who left our group because there's a lot of anti-gay sentiments from some members in SAS-K. Yeah. So because of that online world where you can opt out of online communities where there are diverse views, you find that what you're left with are people with the same opinions. And it becomes an echo chamber. I'm not saying SAS-K is one. I'm just giving the explanation of how these communities form. The fact that there are screens and you can block off some people, or you can unfollow certain content creators, so that reduces the amount of diverse information that you get. There's also that social media algorithm. It only focuses on engagement. It tracks it judiciously. It's not in the business of dispensing accurate information. No, it only looks at what is engaging. And unfortunately, most of what is engaging is exciting, but also anger-inducing and controversial. Yeah, that's what gets more clicks, more follows, etc. So the algorithm will take note of what it is that you follow, the kind of things that you block, where you leave comments, and then it's just going to push more of that. Many young men have been radicalized into the manosphere world because of these algorithms. Yeah. Then I wanted to add something more on human psychology, what the refer was talking about. Human beings have a need for consolation and comfort. When the world has done you dirty, you want to get ideas that reinforce your worldview, that really confirm that you are the one who is right. I gave the example of how there's a lot of office politics at my workplace, like to the point sometimes it feels toxic. And I get so angry when such things occur that when I get home, I'm so stressed. I'm physically tired, psychologically, from all the children who are screaming and, sijui nini, running up and down. And then now, psychologically, the office politics, it makes me so mad. So I just go online and I look for content that talks about how employment is a scam, toxic workplaces, things like those. And if I'm not careful, I can fall into that echo chamber of demonizing employment and romanticizing entrepreneurship. Yet, entrepreneurship has its own set of demons. So I'm aware of that. I have not fallen into that trap, but I know that can be a starting point for some people. And what was the other thing I wanted to add? Friends. I think friends can also create an echo chamber when you guys shun someone who holds a different viewpoint. You support Ruto. Are you crazy? What's wrong with you? How? No, we're not going to be friends. So I think that is problematic. We need to realize that not all of us will look at politics in the same way. Not all of us will look at religion in the same way. I have many religious friends who are smart and they're wonderful people. Save for that aspect of whether God exists. That one, they're not smart. But the other things, they're really fantastic humans. And I would be relationally deprived if I cut them off merely because of that disagreement. So, yeah, those to me are some catalysts. Let's proceed to the next subtopic. Why are echo chambers a problem in society? Yes, Morioki.
Yeah, thanks. Your thinking might be limited. You might be constrained in your thinking. Then you can be a prisoner. You can become a prisoner of your group. Like you can't leave a certain group because you believe what they believe. So you're constrained into your thinking can be limited. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Oh, Chilov is saying I'm breaking off. Is that the case for all?
Me, I'm okay. Me, I can hear you good.
No, I'm okay.
Oh, so it is a problem on his end. Okay. Yes, let's keep making our contributions, guys. What are the consequences of echo chambers? Why is it such a problem? Yes, let's hear from Devin.
Thanks, Dorcas. Now, the problem with echo chambers is, first of all, they discourage holding contrasting views, holding opposing views. Now, the very idea that my view must be always similar to another person's view is scary to me, because it means that this person is like me. And there should not be any person that's like me in the world ever. So it is not just scary because that one of us is leaning back. What is that? Is kind of giving up their individualism for another person's individualism. It also says that there is nothing new, that we can't bring in any individual ideas from out there. We can't think outside this position where we are in. It also means that we are reading from the same script. We're just two people that are reading from the same script. What else? What can we bring in to each other? Nothing. And to me, that kind of situation, that is just where pastors and other cult leaders are bred from. That one will just be a breeding ground for somebody to tell you how to think, what to eat, what to wear, because it will be ripe ground for that kind of thing. But if people are individual, they are thinking their own things, they are bringing in information from out there. When you come over to that echo chamber and you say, oh, you must all dress in white, somebody is going to ask you, why must we dress in white? Because it is not an echo chamber. Somebody is going to ask, why not? Why should we do this thing? And then this person is going to have to either to explain why, or eliminate. If they are a cult leader, they are going to have to remove the person that is not towing the line. So I think that if you hear people, I particularly like it in SAS-K when it is noisy and the people have very many different ideas. The only thing that, well, when we go into these rabbit holes, that bothers me. It means that we are not hearing something. Somebody is just leading us into away from. But that is, let me not digress. Yeah, let me not digress. Let me just say that yes, we. Yes, those are the dangers. Let's just have as many different views as we possibly can. And when we do not hear different views, and let me mention this. When you see atheists going so much into the Bible, we are challenging ourselves and we are saying, could we be wrong? Could we actually be wrong? And that is why atheists know the Bible more than theists, because we always are asking ourselves, are we in an echo chamber that just criticizes the Bible? And that is why we pull out the Bible all the time. We read it and we question ourselves with it. We say, this is what it says. This is what is wrong with it. We're not reading something differently. We are saying, okay, we are saying there is no God, and this is the book that taught us about God, and we still read it. That tells you, no, we are not an echo chamber. Thank you.
All right. Deve has actually preempted the next question, which is atheism versus religion. Which group is more susceptible to echo chambers in your view? And do you even think that SAS-K is an echo chamber? Why or why not? So that is actually the next question. And according to Deve, we are not, because we actually read stuff from the other side of the divide in order to determine whether or not we are wrong. There's that possibility. Yeah. For me, I think echo chambers are a problem because they distort reality. They tend to exaggerate a certain problem so much so that it is blamed solely for the problems that we have today. For instance, with the manosphere, they blame feminism for the downfall of society, like everything. They blame feminism for everything. Sometimes even the weather, climate change, feminism, feminism. Yeah. So that actually distorts reality. It's not the case that feminism has brought all the problems that we are facing in society. Yes, feminism has had its downsides, but it's also had very many positive effects. In fact, for me as a feminist myself, I think it has been more of a net positive than a net negative. But if you are in a manosphere echo chamber, you would think that, oh, the world is falling simply because of that enemy who you have created. So yeah, distorting reality means spreading misinformation about something, those flat earthers, those anti-moon landing conspiracists, they imagine that the world is what they believe it is when that is not the case. Yeah, it's contrary to the fact, to reality as it stands. Another thing is what Ndeve said, it exposes you to manipulation. Those leaders that spearhead the echo chamber or that create content for the echo chamber, sometimes they cash in on your gullibility. They sell you products, they sell you meetings and conferences, the annual Flat Earthers Convention, or those manospheres groups, or whatever echo chamber you belong to. They tend to have certain leaders, and those leaders take advantage of the members because they're not thinking, they're not thinking critically. The other problem with echo chambers is it polarizes society. We as a species, as humans, got to this level because of our knack for cooperation. That's why we dominate other species. And unfortunately, echo chambers run contrary to that. They entrench divisions, or pro-Ruto supporters, anti-Ruto supporters, or liberals, conservatives. You can't stand them. You can't be anywhere near them. You don't want to work with them. And that just makes society worse off, which leads to the other consequence, and that is violence. Sometimes the worst case scenario can occur where somebody actually harms a person outside their echo chamber, because you demonize and you dehumanize that other party, the person that holds a contrary opinion. So, like the case of the lady who has had a Ruto tattoo, she was burnt. She was burnt to death because of it, which is quite unfortunate. And things like the Holocaust occurred because of that echo chamber that existed then. They imagined that the Jews are the enemy and they needed to get rid of them. There are several other examples you can find of extreme cases of being in echo chambers. So I think society would just be better off without echo chambers. We don't need that enmity and that hatred, that lack of empathy towards people who hold different views. Okay, I see Derafa's hand is up. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hata point yenye nilikuwa nayo ni kama ushaisema, na maybe naweza ihasha huku kidogo. I think echo chambers they discourage critical thinking and encourage some kind of dogmatism, which is just what umepeana examples za if a conversation can't happen about surrounding uh, a particular topic where the nini, the two parties in a disagree, there is a very high chance that progress will not happen in that society, because no matter who we are to some point wrong. Hata ukuwe nani, even AIs are wrong most of the time, and these are language models. Hizi ni vitu zenye zina predict the best answer based on a lot of information yenye even us can't access. So no matter who you are to some point wrong. And one of the antidotes, yeah, that kind of default position is honest and open conversations. And echo chambers have a tendency, they might create a tendency of close-mindedness. I'm right, and everyone who think like me is right, and everyone who is wrong, who disagrees with this, uh, perhaps is immoral for disagreeing with that. Perhaps he's deluded for thinking that, unless huyo mtu akuwe na some kind of open-mindedness. That is a dangerous position, because inaweza cause even what Dorcas has said about violence. Coming back to here in Kenya, story na politics, unapata, you are very right, the pro-Ruto and anti-Ruto people. And I don't think being on either extreme is healthy, because unaona hata memes on social media, watu wanasema like, una date aje mtu anasema tu tamu. Huyo ni mtu unafaa hata hufai kumwangalia even hata twice. That is extremism. Like these extreme views on either side of the spectrum. And I think the best way, according to me, and I might be wrong, of course, is Stillman maybe the politics of Ruto and then destroy them after umezi Stillman. Okay, here, okay, here is where Ruto ametusaidia. He is the positive things zenye ametusaidia. He is where he is doing the right things. But hata kama amefanya hizi the right things, here is where I disagree with him, and here is where he's a bad leader. His governance is not as effective, and here is why we should not elect him. And here is the person mwenye maybe ako qualified kumreplace. Okay, I'm not trying to turn this into a political conversation. My point is, such kind of conversation inaweza kuwa productive, because even your suggestions zinaweza kuwa wrong, ama your analysis, and then the other person anaweza kukosoa, aseme akukosoe, and then kuna progress hapo. Maybe hata mnaweza pata two term is the best option. I'm not saying it is the best option, but when the two parties ziko na open minds, a solution is likely to happen. But when kuna some kind of dogmatism, there is no progress it happen, and there is likeliness of your violence. And what I was trying to say is that echo chambers zinaweza hinder progress. That is what I wanted to add.
Very well said. I like the idea of still manning your opponent's point of view before attacking it. Yeah, don't be so quick to throw punches using a surface level understanding of the position that your opponent has. Thank you for that. And in fact, actually, you're making me realize that science is a form of anti-echo chamber phenomenon, because science seeks to prove itself wrong. You know, when you come up with a hypothesis, a scientific hypothesis, the goal to performing experiments and passing it through peer review, requiring other individuals to repeat those same experiments, is to prove you wrong. Yeah, it seeks that challenge. And so it has an inbuilt mechanism to ward off the echo chamber. So I think we would be better off if we adopted that perspective in other areas of life other than science itself. Thank you, Dereva. Next is Morioki. Remember, now we are proceeding, but you can still respond to other questions asked previously. But now we are proceeding to atheism versus religion. Which one do you think is more susceptible to echo chambers? Morioki? You're muted, Morioki.
Oh, sorry, thanks. I was saying, I think for me, religion is a real echo chamber, because the fear of going to hell, the fear of being punished by God will make you move a certain way or think a certain way or not leave a group because you're fearing an afterlife. Then just to comment on this lady was burnt. I heard it was other stories, not just the tattoo of Ruto. It goes deeper, it's deeper than the tattoo. That's what I heard. It was that she had some money which had been given, which she wasn't sharing. That's what I heard. Thanks.
Yeah, you know, there are all these explanations that come after the fact. And in fact, her family said they don't want to preempt anything. They want the investigators to look into the matter deeply in order to get to the bottom of it. So, yeah, maybe we should also adopt that view. Chilu had raised his hand but has logged off abruptly. I guess something happened to his device or his network. Let's hear from you guys. Atheism versus religion. What is more susceptible to echo chambers and why? Yes, let's hear from Deve.
Thanks, Dorcas. And I would like us to hear from Dereva on this one. And because Tome Mogaka is here, it would really be very nice to hear from Tome Mogaka on this one about echo chambers on atheists and religion. And I'm going to start by saying that atheism, in its just the way that it manifests itself, I'm going to have to use that word, and just how it shows up. It discourages beliefs. And therefore, my beliefs if I have any on anything, are likely not to be the beliefs of another person, because an atheist is basically someone that is going without beliefs. And I'm not saying that they can't have echo chambers, because we also do have atheists whose thoughts we admire, who we like how they come up with things, how they what they think about. But because atheism encourages critical thinking, and critical thinking tends to be very personal, then the vulnerability, I'm not saying that the vulnerability is not there, but the vulnerability to being an echo chamber is reduced. Now, religions, on the other hand, and I'm going to say religions, and I'm going to say that some religions are more vulnerable than others, because religions are about belief, and some religions have scriptures which are to be adhered to, and other religions do not adhere to scriptures as much as other religions. You can see where the vulnerability is going to come in. Because if you are encouraged to just believe, then here comes another leader that seems to be fiery, seems to be like this, and then you are mesmerized by this particular leader. Then you can easily fall into an echo chamber of a certain charismatic leader. And then the more there is the more who are mesmerized by this charismatic leader, the bigger the echo chamber, the worse the echo chamber. And we have seen that kind of thing, and that is why these charismatic leaders lead their followers into destruction, into tragedy, because everybody in that chamber reflects and thinks the same way, the way the dear leader says, and they follow that dear leader into wherever they go to, whatever they go to, because they are so vulnerable. And yes, religion is more vulnerable. And atheists, beware not to fall into that. Keep criticizing, keep following science, so that one does not find themselves in that kind of echo chamber. Critical thinking is the thing. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to comment something there.
Okay. Welcome.
Yeah, my name's yeah. I've been listening in. I think to me, my opinion is that both atheism and religious both can be a form of echo chambers. In that both situations, both circumstances tend to gear towards a certain agreed norm without specific organizations. So, like, for example, we encourage critical thinking, which some of us who we think will look at a bigger picture of free thinking, where you exist in a free place where you are allowed to maximize all the faculties of reasoning to come up with a solution which is geared towards the ethos, a common agreed ground in a society, the ethos of a society. That's why we have the right and the right and the wrong of a thing.
So if we are not very careful, both of us, both the theism and the belief, because both there is that free thinking, you don't believe of anything, but you are guided by the surrounding where you have grown, or what's the surrounding. That's why we tend to also to base scientific evidence of existence or of anything, which we tend to believe that when we base our arguments on scientific evidence, then we're gonna be kind of encouraging a critical thinking and the free reasoning. And that's why we have the Freemasonry, which we encourage, where that you just go use all the faculties which you have been endowed with to be a free thinking, doing the right thing, which is a common agreed philosophy or whatever in the society where you are. That's my simple thinking, and still I'm listening in. Thank you.
Okay, listener one, are you in any of our WhatsApp groups?
No, I'm not. I'm just happened to pop into this listening. I was like, what's happening here? I saw a posting in one of the groups where I am. So I said, let me just listen in and understand what's going on. Thanks.
I see. Okay. So you're not in our groups. Okay. Thank you for that perspective. And it's a pleasure to have a new attendee in our meetings. Yes, I see Morioki's hand is up. Go ahead, Morioki.
Okay, thanks. I think the big difference between science and religion is that science changes. You see, the Bible will never change. The Bible, the way it was 100 years ago, it's the same. But science keeps changing. So I think atheists and free thinkers and skeptics, we are more free than the people who are religious, because the Bible doesn't change. Thanks.
Aha, Morioki has brought out that aspect of a doctrine that is encoded in a holy text. That's what makes religion, according to him, vulnerable. Any other contributor to that subtopic? Yes, Derefa.
Okay, Deve has said I should offer a perspective, and also Tommy, because he's on the religious side. I was thinking maybe Tommy anaweza anza juu tujasikia sauti yake leo, and then naweza follow.
Tommy Mogaka. Public demand requires that you say something. We want to hear from the other side. Tommy, are you able to speak? I've just been seeing emojis. There was a thumbs up, there was a laughing emoji at some point. Then there's this other one of celebrations.
Hello. Sasa Sister Dorcas,
Poa sana Tommy. Karibu.
niko hapa reporting for duty as always. I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Brother Ndereba. I've been following keenly, and also thank you for the guest visitor, listener one. I think I concur with what he said, and I also concur with a bit of what you guys said, including what Brother Ndereba said, that we are I always hold this position that we should not call anyone biased, because confirmation bias is a human state. It's a human condition. So we cannot take the position that we do not have confirmation bias. It's there. As he said, the best thing that you need to do is to put the effort and or recognize that it is there even as you work your mind around concepts and ideas. That said, as listener one has said, both sides of the aisle have that problem, that challenge is there. And also maybe another thing I'd want to say, Brother David Dereva, by the way, your name should have a proper, there's a way in which you can put it in Kikuyu. It's just that we are not, in our writings, we do not have, we're not trained to use those syllables and things like that. Just the way my name, the G has a way it's supposed to sound. Anyway, beside the point. So back to exactly what you were saying is, I wouldn't consider myself only religious, and I wouldn't say that there's a real fight between science and religion. These are two different things, and they aim to achieve two different purposes. So I wouldn't, number one, put myself in the category of religious and not scientific, and I wouldn't put you guys in the category of scientific and not religious. That's number one. Number two, indeed, it's a big danger. And I think one of the, and I shared it, I don't know that I've shared it on our wall before, there's some environments that create echo chambers. Number one, lack of respect. When there's no respect, you are likely to have that situation. As you say, people will leave or some people will shut down. And then number two, humility. When we have that idea that we are humble, or that we want to consider the other party also has something to teach me, even if I might not have the same view, then there's a less chance of having an echo chamber. So respect, humility are two things which are necessary for an atmosphere where we do not have an echo chamber. But when you have a situation where if I speak up, I'll be called stupid, I'll be called non-thinking, or I'll be called satanic, or I'll be called evil, of course people will shut down and they'll prefer not to speak, because by nature, what I've realized is that by nature, human beings are not confrontational, unless as the way you have presented, Sister Dorcas. Yes, social media highlights that animalistic behavior or aggressive behavior that we have between peoples. I think those 2 points, there's two other points I've forgotten that would prevent us from having an echo chamber kind of thing. But in short, what I wanted to say is that it is very there, it's the big fact. Now, maybe what I can also say, because this is also another thing, I may not convince you, but there's very, very good arguments that people who are Christians and Muslims and other faiths, Buddhists, Hindus, are not closed people. As I said, in fact, if you look at in the recent history that we have had, it is people of these worldviews are the ones who have been most open or have brought a lot of progress in terms of free thinking. So if I would give you the example of, let me not talk about other people or other religions, let me mention Jesus Christ. I don't think Jesus Christ was a person who loved an echo chamber. In fact, even in his crew, he had so many species of people. One of them was Kichwangumu, like Peter. The other ones were softy, like John. The other ones were cowards. Some of them were so many various kinds of people with different ideas. And then there was one sitting he had with them. He asked them, "What do people say I am?" So already for me, that tells me this is a person who is not out to shield them from any extra. He asked them, "You guys, you know me, we sit here with you daily. Tell me what people say I am." And then the guys responded this, responded that, and then he asked, "Okay, now what about you yourselves? What do you say I am?" So for me, that question, the ability to question, is a very strong ability that we should not lose as human beings. Just the way when you're a child, you like asking questions. Mom, what is this? Dad, what is this? And you have endless questions. Unfortunately, when we grow up, we lose that. The moment you realize you've lost that ability to ask a question and wait to hear it, even from someone who is completely different from you, then know that you're entering that territory of being in an echo chamber. So I think questioning, the ability to question, is very important, and it helps us to get something new. I think that's all I can say. If I remember anything else, I'll say. But thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm following Kindly, and I'm happy to learn from you guys. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Hey, today for the first time, I will agree with Tommy. That thing of respecting the other side, your opponent, quote unquote, is really important, and humility as well. When you're so arrogant that I hold the right opinion and this person is so stupid to hold a different opinion, then you close the conversation, and that can lead you down the rabbit hole of an echo chamber. Thank you so much. I disagree with some other things you said, but on that one, we are on the same page. Now let's hear from the refer.
Okay. Yeah. Nianze wapi? Well, let me just answer the question. I think the question was whether atheism and religion, which is more susceptible. And I think um, as listener one has said, both are susceptible. And I think the reason is, well, I don't see atheism as 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 a community, or as a religion, or as a I don't know. I don't know how I see atheism, but one thing I know about atheists is that they agree on one thing: is that there is no. They are skeptical of the supernatural, but that doesn't mean that they agree on politics. That doesn't mean that they agree on free will. That doesn't mean that they agree on love. That doesn't mean that they agree on homosexuality. So I think everyone is susceptible to echo chambers, based on the reason I said about on the confirmation bias I pointed out earlier. And I think it is an individual task to identify them, and try as much as possible to criticize oneself, because yes, I'm losing track of my thoughts. Let me just say, yeah, both ways of thinking are more susceptible to echo chambers. I'm having a hard challenge to make a point here, because I see religion as it's a I think someone like God, you can fix God anywhere. I often use this example of when tuseme wewe ni msee wa kuuza smocha, and umeweka smocha kadhaa kwa nini, kwa hiyo booth yenye wanaekanga, umetokea and within the first 30 minutes watu washa kununulia. Well, a religious person anaweza interpret that as ni God bring those people there to to, to promote kazi yake. But kama ni mtu kama mimi an atheist, mimi kitu naweza ona hapo ni luck, na ni ati maybe nimetime gidhaa ilikuwa mbaya ya njaa, wasee walikuwa njaa vibaya sana na wameona tu snack ya kudishi before wa collapse. Me that is how I would see that. So I think a religious way of thinking is more susceptible to echo chambers. I'm not saying that atheists don't have that susceptibility, but I think religiosity has a built-in mechanism of encouraging echo chambers, in the sense that you can fit God anywhere, and most people, you see, nimepotea man. Poleni.
But your point is home.
Yeah.
Your point is home on how a religion has a built-in mechanism, but
Yeah.
atheists can also be vulnerable. Nasikia watu wakuli omega 6 ndio watu wanasahau sana their train of thought. So please be buying more fish or omena.
Noted.
Yes, but thank you so much for that perspective. I see Deve's hand is up. Oh, wait. Before Deve, Morioki's hand was up. Then we'll hear from Deve. Morioki.
Thanks. I want to ask Tommy a question about how what I said earlier. The world is changing, but the Bible stays the same. Like, for example, gospel music, Christian music, it's so messed up. It is an echo chamber. Some say the gospel music of today is good, others say it's bad because they want to keep up with the music. So I'm asking Tommy, what do you make of that? As in, the Bible stays the same, and the world keeps changing, and you can use the gospel music as an example, because it's so there's a debate between gospel music, which is the right gospel music, and which is the wrong one. Thanks.
All right, Tommy will answer that question when he makes his next contribution. Next is Ndeve.
Thanks, Dorcas. I have a question also. And my question is this. When there is an echo chamber, or rather people do not ask questions, and we have been in these situations because we grew up in a culture that does not encourage questions very much. So let us ask ourselves, in the creation of these echo chambers, what creates them? Why are people unwilling to ask questions? Is it because they respect their leaders? Or is it because they are afraid of their leaders? Or is it because they are afraid of the fellow members? Because this is where the creation of the echo chamber is. What is it that we are unwilling to question? We do not want to stick out. Why is it? Even when we know we are right and we need to question this situation, why is it we do not? What are the reasons we do not do it? Because I know Mogaka came up with the respect and all these things. And I just wondered where that was going. Because I think maybe only one thing came out as could could create an echo chamber, but the others were a little bit off. The left, they were a little bit off. So I just want to know how. Why are people unwilling to ask questions? Thank you.
David, is that question to a particular person or to all?
I think I'm going to throw it out to all. I know it was, the question came up because of something that Mogaka said, but I think I'm going to throw it I'm going to throw it on the floor. Thank you.
So it is, if you were to paraphrase it in a sentence.
What creates, why is it we do not question, or why is it that people in an echo chamber are unwilling or unable to question, even those who know that, no, this is not, we need to ask about this, but they do not. That is particularly that is particularly among our people, probably people raised in Africa, but I think groups, if you are in groups of people raised in other parts of the world, they are more willing to question. Maybe the groups that I'm in anyway, not because cult leaders are in all parts of the world. So I'm just asking, why are people, because that's how a cult, an echo chamber works. You do not go against, you don't question things. You don't go against the grain. Why are we unwilling to go against the grain?
Okay. Duly noted. We can answer that question as we proceed. Let me also give my contribution on the atheism versus religion question. Which group do I believe is more vulnerable? And then I'll try and take a stab at David's question as well. And hopefully I'll do all that in 5 minutes max. I believe that both groups can be susceptible to echo chambers, but religion is significantly more vulnerable. We would be lying to ourselves if we equate both those two categories and say, all of them, it's okay, all of them. We need to look at the facts, and reality shows that religion is more vulnerable to echo chambers. Why is this the case? Because of the idea of a holy text dogma that is encoded in it. So people are only supposed to derive teachings, moral teachings, spiritual teachings, or whatever you would like to call it, from that holy text. Remember, when we defined echo chambers, we said it's a situation in which people only hear opinions of one type or those that are similar to their own. So if something is biblical or if something is Quranic, tick. If it is not, it is discouraged. It is shunned. I recall when I was a Christian, we used to have home fellowships with the purpose of studying the Bible. There were Bible studies in each other's homes. And I remember bringing up the idea of female leadership in the home, because that's where the next frontier should lie. Yes, they are granting women leadership in secular positions, in business, in universities, and also in the workplace, or even in some churches, because we have some female pastors in certain churches. But where they have refused to give ground is in the home. Christians still maintain that the man is the head of the home. And I challenged that fact as a feminist Christian at the time. I was like, no, What if I married somebody and yet I'm the more intelligent, the swifter, the more decisive person when it comes to making decisions in the couple? Why should we default to the quote unquote inferior party? Okay, I know inferior is a hard is a derogatory term, but for lack of a better one, why should we defer to the person who is less qualified for the job when I am there just because of my genitals? And I remember we fought, but they silenced that debate with biblical scriptures. And they said, Dorcas, your ideas are not biblical, so shut up. Okay, they didn't tell me shut up, but they were like, you are wrong because your ideas are not biblical. The fact that they have that code and they have dogma, they have those doctrines in there, will mean that dissenting views are not very welcome. There are those ones who are a bit flexible, liberal, Christians, nini, but the majority are not. So we cannot run away from that fact. There's also, what is it called? Ostracizing somebody for having dissenting views. I remember once again, we had another visitor from Githurai 45 who came to my home fellowship. I used to live in Kawendani. And the guy, I believe he was an atheist, even though he didn't declare. He asked very difficult, problematic questions about the Bible. And people felt threatened. They felt threatened. They sent a pastor to come and deal with him, but the pastor was unprepared, or he didn't give satisfactory responses. And so they wanted to make sure that the guy doesn't return. Yeah, and that is very common in many churches or in many religious groups. When you outrightly contradict the mainstream view in that religion, you will be ostracized. You will be kicked out. So that is there, and it's common. And of course, there are the religious leaders, the preachers, who are the ones who've been given a divine mantle. You know, they have this revelation, this special revelation, and so they can purport to be speaking on behalf of God, and anybody who holds a contrary opinion will suffer the consequences. So yeah, that's why I think the religious side tends to be vulnerable. Conversely, with the atheists, especially us, that's why I asked listener one whether he belongs to any of our WhatsApp groups. We have, as SAS-K, we have an open group where anyone of any religious persuasion is welcome. And we exchange ideas there. We are always debating. You tell me whether a mosque or whether a church has such a setup. Ours is happening on a daily basis. It's not a special ministry, you know, like where the apologists, you know, form a department and outreach ministry. No, that's just the default setting for us. They are there. Then we have weekly Zoom meetings where we invite everybody. In fact, if you have some Christian friends, some Muslim friends, please tell them to come to our meetings. Yeah. And we have these discussions. There is no issue whatsoever. But with churches, with mosques, there's one guy at the front, the sheikh or the pastor, and he's preaching to everybody else. You just sit there passively and consume the content. That's what distinguishes the two. With that said, we can still be vulnerable. Looking at some atheist organizations in the US, I've seen that. I mentioned that in one of the videos we did at the shoot, where they kicked out Matt Dillahunty, who is one of my atheist mentors. I really love how he argues. They kicked out Matt Dillahunty from the ACA, the atheist community of Austin, because of disagreements over trans issues. Likewise, we've had divisions between Richard Dawkins and other younger atheists, like genetically modified skeptic. In fact, there's a video he did where he said he will not debate, he will not be in a forum with Richard Dawkins because Richard Dawkins is a transphobe. So this transgender issue and maybe other issues that are not related to the God question, they can bring divisions among atheists and they can form echo chambers. But the policy that we hold as SAS-K is everyone is welcome, whether you are for trans issues or not, whether you are for gay rights or not, whether you are for this side of the political divide, whether you're one term or you're two term, we welcome you all. And even whether you are religious, whether you believe a God exists or not, we welcome all of you. Let's hear those dissenting voices and let's challenge them if we disagree with them. But, let's be together. So yeah, that's my perspective. I hope I have not gone on for too long. Let's proceed to the final bit. Even as we answer David's question, I'm hoping Tommy will answer Morioki's question. We can respond to that final prompt, which is, what are the solutions to echo chambers? How can we avoid falling into that trap? Great. Let's hear from Dereva.
Okay, I guess Dorcas umesema point 2 yenye ilipotea kwa akili yangu, so I think we are good. What I wanted to answer is the Deve's question about why, particularly in Africa, tunakuanga na this default position of a timid position of questioning. We are so timid, and we have settled in complacency, like watu wengi wako too comfortable with how things are. And I think one of the reasons behind that is that in African traditional societies, age is a significant factor in your status in the society. The older you are, the more voice you have. So I guess if you are like 90 plus in a traditional setting, you are like the president of anywhere you went. Like you are the boss. When you ulikuwa yakuza huko, and you are not a young person was not supposed to question anything that the elder person anamwambia. There was this kind of authoritarianism across all ages. Like a kid had a question anything yenye anaambiwa na anyone, and this is something that you find even in nuclear families. It is still there. It is unapata the dad is the kusema of that home, and they are not to be questioned. Akikuambia fanya hivi, unafaa ukuwa unaanguka huko na sufuria ukienda kufanya hiyo kitu before hata amalize hiyo sentence. And that is that is like the default position of the African, but things are changing, and particularly the vitabu zenye watoto wanasoma sahi, the CBC kids. I got to to read one of the places in wanasoma, and I did a review of the book itself. And there is this kid who is questioning his father, and I like it that the author of that book, Ocharo, who is a professor of sociology in UN, I may bring to the family level. See this abstract concept ya politics ya zenye tulikuwa tunasoma tukiwa shule, ameileta to the family level where it's a son challenging the father who is oppressing the workers at their farm, and the dad doesn't want to hear anything. Anawaita rebels, anasema like, I'm even disowning you for even disagreeing with me. Who are you to tell me what I have to do? I'm the man of the house. And we are raised in most Africans are raised in that setting. Even when you go now, even when you grow up, you have this kind of timidity around even authority. You can't even voice your views. So I think, to cut the story short, there is that aspect of African structure of the social structure of the African, and I think it is one of the major contribution to timidity around authority and around asking tough questions. To answer the next question in your Dorcas ameuliza, what might be some of the solutions? I don't okay, sijafikiria kuhusu hiyo swali. Maybe I guess naweza malizia huko juu nimesikia ni the last question. Maybe after some people wameongea naweza kuwa formulate an answer, but in light of the African social setting yenye tuko nayo around timidity, around asking questions, I think everyone would be doing everyone a favor by being courageous. I'm saying this because I'm very open with my parents. Okay. Yeah, I guess none of you guys have ever seen my videos, but I have long hair, like it's very shaggy, and leo hadi nimepaka dye leo, and this is so like my parents would see me like this kind of crazy guy who like huyu alichizi zamani, but they say it in a joking manner, but for some for certain for an unknown reason, I started asking the tough questions. I guess this is in like 4 years ago, when wakati nilikuja unajua atheism ni kama you come out as an atheist, ni kama tu vile unaweza come out as gay, and they were very shocked. You don't just say those kind of things in an African home. Huwezi sema tu hivyo. It became such a phenomenon that I guess everyone in my village knew it, and I couldn't back down. I had to stand my ground. And one of the main values I live by is honesty. I don't even think that I can remember the last time I lied. And I think honesty is one of the best policies. First of all, it's an act of courage, because I think most people who lie are trying to hide something. Yeah, they are scared of something. So it's an act of cowardice, lying, and it requires a lot of effort to lie. You even have to follow the script. You have to remember what you had said so that you follow that script next. And I think generally when you speak the truth, you don't have to remember anything. You just say it. Yeah, like you'll always repeat the same thing when you are saying the truth. So I had to stand with the truth despite the social pressure. There was a lot of pressure around the fact that I don't believe in God anymore. And I even started to question a lot of things that uh, I think after you become an atheist, you become questioning like everything. That is why I think uh, we there should be a conversation about whether if everyone were to become an atheist, how would that society become? Because I think when you become an atheist, suddenly you it's like a chicken that an eagle that was convinced somehow that it can't fly, but suddenly you realize that you can fly, and you realize the kind of potential that you have. Okay,
30 seconds left.
Okay. What I'm trying to say is, I think we should be courageous enough to speak our truth. And I think it is an admirable trait. And the reason I brought up the issue about my parents is that the the moment I started to question like everything, and we now have like adult conversations. I disagree with my parents with a lot of things. They disagree with me with a lot of things. We became closer as a consequence. But when we don't question these things, and we are complacent with everything that they say, and we comply with uh, everything that is how the society is structured. First of all, there is no progress. Second of all, there is uh, I guess closeness haitakuwa, and most important of all, um, nimesahau point, and hiyo ndio ilikuwa the most important.
Actually, I will stop you there because time has run out.
Sawa. Okay, thanks.
But I do appreciate that revelation on how challenging it can be to be an atheist in a religious society. You actually start to question everything, and yeah, it's an uphill climb. It's no mean feat. Thank you so much for sharing those views. And we need to challenge that mindset, that African mindset of never questioning. Like we said last time, culture should serve us. It's not, we are not slaves of culture. Culture is our servant. If it is not beneficial, we need to discard it. So certain beliefs, certain mindsets are actually anti-critical thinking. So thank you so much, Dewefa. Next is Morioke. Remember, we are answering the last prompt. What are some solutions to formation of echo chambers? Yes, Morioke.
Okay, so what I'll say, how to avoid echo chambers, just be open to change. Yeah, be open to change and new ideas. And also speak your opinion. Like wherever you are, if you have an opinion that's different, even from the leader or from authority, just speak it out. And what are the consequences? Like the rabbi is saying, don't fear. If somebody says something and is your boss or is your authority somewhere, just speak your mind. And also to answer Deve, you see, like for religion, the Bible it's the word of God, and it says that they are inspired by the Holy Spirit, then preachers are ordained by God. So never, you can't question that. You told somebody this book is the word of God, and the writers were inspired by the Holy Spirit, and the preachers are ordained by God. You can't question that. Thanks.
Aha. Ryoki suggests questioning. Let's question everything. It's very important. Let's ask questions even to leaders that are revered or respected. Let's hear from listener 1.
Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, we have to be intentional in realizing who we are. Once you understand, you know yourself, who you are, then you can be able to integrate into society and have that to disrupt the environmental or the socialization the way we were socialized, so that you have intentional disruption of automatic thinking. You change your habits on what you read, what you consume, and be intentionally in digital literacy. As our friend Muriok said, or whatever, be open to different opinions and be ready to critique the different sources. When you read widely, you are able to critique the sources of your information with a lot of humility and respect, as Tommy said. To avoid, we need to accept to amplify and the nuance. Before you share anything out, try to understand, verify facts before, those ones who are online, verify facts before you share, so that you don't put your opinions or you amplify lies. And and in short, to promote constructive dialogue wherever you are in groups, and the change starts within. So be free thinking, use all the resources which you have, the abilities to mold yourself to higher critical faculties. That's all what I can say. Thank you.
Wow, very well said. That part on fact checking and dialogue is spot on. Tommy, there was a question for you from Morioki.
Thank you, Lucas. Thank you for the comments that have just gone before me, including Brother Ndereva, Sister Ndeve, and Listener 1. If I can remember well, Morioki, I hope is here. His question was regarding the Bible, whether it is I don't know exactly how he put it, whether it is closed or something like that. Well, I've already given you an example where Jesus Christ, in his circle, he had various kinds of people, including tax collectors, accountants, people in. So if it was today, that would have been someone in KRA, that would have been someone who was a lawyer, someone who is an academic, then common folk like fishermen, then I think Paul would have fallen in the academic, in the intellectual group. So he had simple people, he had smart people, he had aggressive people, he had soft people, he had all kinds of people in his circle. And I think that is something, whether you believe in Jesus Christ or whether he existed or not, that already for me is an example we can pick up. Don't walk with only people who you have the exact same view. And that's part of the reason why I'm here, because what fun is it, or what gain is it if I'm always with the same guys who have the same ideas? You always try and work with people who have different views, and especially if they have superior views than you, or if they have views which you have never had before. So when I look at the scripture, I see Jesus Christ exemplifying that. In the Old Testament, again, we see God the Father. No, it could be even Jesus himself now, pre-incarnate, before he came as a human, as a man. He is saying, "Come, let us reason." So already that's a challenge to come and ask what has been presented before you. So again, that's an invitation for you to think. Now, is it closed? I wouldn't say so, because I think there's a recent study which was done, and I think it was done by secular people who are not Christians even. They found that the scriptures themselves were written by so many different individuals across 3 continents in 3 languages, and they have so many different backgrounds, but the texts were interlinking. I'll try and share the image if I can find it, but the psychologist, what do you call him, Jordan Peterson, once shared that imagery, where lines were drawn on the Bible, connecting verses which were connecting with other verses far off. So it was interesting because they said this is the first example of a hypertext document before the internet or before technology of hypertexting came. It seems that this document was hypertext, where it seems like it keeps on giving. So today you can read something, but when you come and read it tomorrow, you say, wait a minute, this is something new. Like this week I learned something called chiasmatic structure. So the way a scripture is, the way a story, for example, is written, it is written in a way that it is cascading from point A to B to D, and then it ends at maybe it's point E. And then again, it goes back, the same story, walking back, its same step now relating the same story. So, for example, scripture opens with a garden, and it closes with a garden, something like that. So that's that's something which I knew, which I never knew, but I came to learn. So in short, what I would say is that I wouldn't exactly say if as Maruki is saying that it will cause you to be dogmatic. Rather, it is what has helped some people to, not even some people, recent history that we know from for the last 20 centuries have been opened up because of the effect of Christianity, and even to some extent Islam. They've contributed quite a bit towards that. So I wouldn't say 100% that this being a Christian will make you immediately dogmatic or make you go into an echo chamber. I wouldn't say that. In fact, if you, Brother Ndereba is saying that, what if everybody became an atheist or largely atheistic? I would say we've had that example when the French Revolution came through, and it wasn't very pleasant. If you're a student of history. So in short, to summarize,
30 seconds.
Yeah, in short, to summarize, I would say I would take a different position. I know this is not the place to, because it's a different topic, not the place to talk about it. But we have, starting from the likes of Isaac Newton, Pascal, and many others, even Charles Darwin himself, he was categorical, saying that I'm not an atheist. I don't know why people would consider him an atheist. That's what he was asking in his day. So I think the mind, or let me not even talk about anybody else, let me just talk about Jesus Christ. I see what he's pushing us to be is to be very open and not dogmatic and not
Okay.
challenge us. Be humble.
Okay.
In short, be humble. Thank you very much.
All right. A lot of controversial things said by Tommy there, and I've seen some hands going up. I suppose those are reactions to his assertions. The first one was MJ. Karibu.
Hi, Dorcas. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, just to respond to one point that Nani made and respond to your question. I think it's Tom, yeah? I think, yeah, it was Tom. So on the point of Charles Darwin being an atheist, remember that was what we call the Victorian era. It was illegal, punishable by death to be an atheist. They never used to call it an atheist. They had a laws, they used to call it heresy. It was, most people were, the worst crime you could have committed during that time, because it was the Roman Catholic that was ruling the most part of the Western world. It was punishable by death. It was the worst crime you could have committed.
No, but
And
just
just a minute. And to prove your point, to prove to you
Tommy,
that,
please, it's not your turn. Let MJ speak.
no, I'm just
and to prove to you
commenting.
that,
No, Tommy. Tommy, let's respect each other. It's MJ's turn.
and to prove that, Charles Darwin is normally not the first person who came up with the idea of evolution. There's a guy called Russell. And people normally misconstrue or make the idea that, oh, he stole Charles Darwin could have stolen the idea from, most of these ideas from Russell, but no, because Charles Darwin actually moved around the world. Charles Darwin waited until late in his life. He wrote the first, the book, The Origin of Species, and then kept it for over 30 years without publishing it. Because he knew once he published that would be considered heretic and would be killed. The only reason he decided to publish it after like 30 years after he did the work, he went around the world with the military and collected all the plant and specimen, and then he came up with the conclusion about evolution. The reason is because Russell had also published, was also about to publish a similar work about Darwinian. So whatever you call Darwinian theory nowadays will be called the Russell theory. So I'm telling you, when you say he was not an atheist, I'm not saying whether he is this or not, but you have to know that it was a crime to be a heretic then. Now, let me come back to the topic. You're asking why, you're asking what? You're asking about the echo chambers, or how to avoid them. I'm thinking of two things. One is being open-minded, and being open-minded sounds like easy. There's something called, what do you call it? You have to remember that people in echo chambers is like your tribe. Like you be all you, you are with the people of your kind. It feels nice. And it comes, especially because you have these people you agree with. It's like a family. It's like a tribe. It's like a nation. You have people you are familiar. It's like a race. You are in an in-group. So it feels very comfortable. And anytime someone tries to bring something contrary to the whatever echo chambers treat you, whether you are an atheist or whether you are in whatever echo chamber you're in, the brain triggers something called not what do you call it? There's a name for it. It's a very common name. This feeling that you are thinking, something, like you're faced with evidence, but it's contrary to your confirmation bias. So,
Cognitive dissonance.
yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Cognitive dissonance. So it's very comfortable being an echo chamber because the contrary brings you into where you faced with cognitive dissonance, which is uncomfortable psychologically. So the one way to avoid that company is always, and this is something I've learned. But never assume you know everything. Like recognize there's so much you don't know. And then always look for the quote unquote smartest, the person you think is the smartest of the opposite, of the opposing side. Don't look for the best of it. This is not, unless it's an academic. If you're a biologist, of course, you want to read from the best biologist. If you're a physicist, the same. But if it's a social issue like religion, like social issues, politics, always try and learn from the quote unquote smartest person of the opposing side and try to see things from his view. I've started to, and it has really helped me a lot, especially with the religious people. I think at first in my early atheism, I was like very dismissive. I was like, this is bullshit, this is metalness, this is what, how can you not see this thing is utterly false? But I've started to realize, I'm not saying it's true, but I've started to see how they see the world. Like there's a lot of comfort, there's a lot of psychological, there's a lot of psychological comfort that makes you feel like they don't want that cognitive dissonance. Like there is hope, quote unquote hope. So you have to make a conscious, deliberate decision to seek the perspective, seek to understand the perspective of your opposing idea. And number two, and this is the last one, is to check your emotions. Um, you've seen, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, I'm a victim of this. Every time I see like someone like, oh, like Natasha saying, oh, like today niliona amesema Reverend Natasha ati seek the Lord and something blah blah, and you're about to receive millions into your account now, and that for me infuriates me naturally. Like I feel it, well, especially when I see people typing amen, I feel infuriated. I feel like, fuck, are these not grown up people? Hii pesa utatoa ni nani? Huyo atapoteza pesa ndio uletewe. But then and then you see things like of profitable, you see that even just your average Christian, that the way they pray, they worship, and they have this manifesting and hoping and all these things. It's an emotional trigger for most people. It's always an emotional trigger to see a thing of the opposing side. It takes a check of emotion or a check of like emotional maturity to get interested in what triggers your anger or your emotions. Check those emotions. Like if I get angry, then I really want to go and find out how do these people live? Like these people who type amen, amen on those kind of Pastor Nani, naitagwa Pastor Nani Walimuru, those Reverend Nash. Like what is going on? And then I've now started to understand, like, once you're brought up once you remove religion from some people, it can be, when life gets desperate, it's the people want hope, even if it's false hope. And that's psychologically confirmed. That's why religion has been us for ages. People want hope. We got into a level where our mind is just not able to. The way you cannot imagine yourself dead in a dead situation. People cannot imagine themselves like that's it. It's a finite life and there'll be nothing anymore about them. So people on this, it is like the reason why people go to movies and watch movies. The movie you're watching is fictional, you pay money, but you want to immerse yourself into this fictional world, at least for those 2 hours. It feels very emotionally satisfying or psychologically satisfying. It's the same thing. And I'm still trying to understand why so many people are religious, especially in our country. And so that's normally the emotional checker. And it's not just about religion, even politics. There's always headline that will inflate you about Kasongo, about Kachago, about Nini. Try, just try. You don't have to go, doing a research, like with peer review. Just Google a little bit or ask around, like, why do you
Every
like
day,
this guy?
30 seconds.
Yeah, why do you like this guy? What do you find them in? Of course, you're going to hear a lot of stupid bullshit, especially in the political field. But try and get interested. Make a conscious decision to get interested in those things that trigger those information or headlines from the opposition, from people you oppose. which triggers your anger or your emotional reaction. So those are the two. That one, and also look for the smartest person in the opposite side and try and understand their perspective. Hi, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's always a delight to have you in the meeting, Mr. Chair. Hey, the prodigal son, or is it the prodigal father? Yes, I agree with you, especially on that bit of how dismissive we as atheists can be, especially in the early stages when you've just deconverted. You really can't fathom how gullible somebody ought to be in order to fall for the religious lie. But it takes empathy, it takes humility to put yourself in their shoes. So thank you so much. Next is Ndeve. Let's hear from you, Ndeve.
Thank you, Dorcas. I have a question. It is a simple question. I have a question for Mogaka, or maybe other people.
Sadly, Ndeve, we are not able to ask more questions because we're supposed to end the meeting in the
It's
next
actually a
3.
yes. It's actually a yes or no question. Mogaka, is your religion, your church or religious or temple or wherever you are, is it an echo chamber or not? Just a simple question. Thank you. Indulge me.
Thank you very much. And if there's no time, I think we're in the same group. We can also chat. I think I've invited Sister Dorcas and team to once upon a time visit our church. They're very open. I actually told them about you guys and they were excited. They even started making plans. But to give you a brief history of, for those who don't know, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. The Adventist movement is one of the young churches which came up in the 1800s, just the time that Charles Darwin was coming up. And amongst his influences was Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton's writings that he did about prophecy and Daniel, the book of Daniel and Revelation, directly influenced my church. So my church is created historically, for those who know the the history of the revival movement in the USA, it was made up of all other churches, including deists, people who are deists, people who are scientists and stuff like that. So it is very open.
Is it an echo chamber or not? Is it an echo chamber or not?
It cannot be an echo chamber because even the structure itself does not allow it to be so. Number one, the pastor is beholden to the membership. Maybe secular Kenyan, I think I'll invite you guys one day and you'll see the kind of discussions that we have. The structure itself does not allow.
Discussions, but within the echo chamber.
Kindly, Tommy, you have answered the question. Now, David, did you have a follow-up or you are now satisfied?
I am satisfied. I just wondered it's a yes or no, but yes, it was not. It was neither here nor there. But I'm happy. It's okay. Thank you.
All right. Let's hear from Morioki as we wind up.
Yeah, my question wasn't answered at all. I said the world is changing, but the Bible isn't. And I used gospel music. Look at gospel music how it's become nowadays, compared with the 80s. Get Tommy, look at gospel music.
And unfortunately, Morioki, he responded to your question for a whopping 8 minutes.
No, I forgot.
No, he didn't answer me. I wasn't satisfied.
So, okay, unfortunately, we cannot give him more airtime. Beyond that, we are past our time.
10 seconds.
Sorry, we don't have time. We have to be. We have to be very strict.
Find me in the group. Find me in the group, Miroki.
So Miroki. Okay. Now I want to give my contribution on solutions to the echo chamber problem. And before I do, I also wanted to say something about Tommy's responses. I think that the Seventh-day Adventist Church is an echo chamber. I went to A levels in Uganda. After finishing Form 4 here, I went to A levels in Uganda, and it was an SDA school. I saw firsthand how much of an echo chamber is. Two,
Come to my turn.
this idea of you being an apologist and okay, let me even leave the apologist thing, but you saying that Christians are not following the example of Christ because Christ would actually have been anti-echo chamber. That's actually true. The practice of Christianity is very different from Christ himself as the leader. Religion is a totally different beast from what Christ himself allegedly taught. We don't even know for sure whether he is real or not, especially all the characteristics that have been attributed to him. So that's what I wanted to say on your statement, but we can't go further than that. We are out of time. On solutions, I echo listener one's sentiments on the importance of diversifying your information sources and fact checking. I also think it is important for you to hack the algorithm, because we said social media algorithms really contribute to this problem. So try and go incognito, do incognito browsing so that it doesn't suggest to you things that are related to other things that you had watched before. And also sometimes just take a break from social media, touch grass. So many of these problems are created because people are spending too much time on their screens. That whole manosphere world and the femisphere world as well, you know, these anti-male groups or the narcissistic manipulative females as well, they are all being created because people are spending too much time on their screens. Go outside, engage in real hobbies, you know, make a friend, travel, experience a different culture, a different perspective. That will add to it. I think listener one was also spot on when he talked about media literacy, how to decipher good sources, how to determine whether something is a fact or an opinion. You need to really distinguish that, because if you take an opinion as gospel, that's where you start to go wrong. And then now you start to filter off dissenting views. And I also think this idea of wanting to be right all the time should be put aside. Sometimes let's focus on building relationships. Yeah, you don't have to prove that you are right all the time. Let's have dialogue. Let's build relationships. And we as SAS-K are committed to the idea of breaking echo chambers. That's why we have a group consisting of people of all religious persuasions. And that's why we keep holding different topics. We keep holding debates on different topics, and we try to look at both sides of the discussion. So thank you, everybody, for your contribution. I'd like to thank Derefa. He was very instrumental throughout the meeting. I gave some very insightful perspectives. Then Ndeve, all of them are just Ndeve. Yeah, thank you, Ndeve, for your contribution in the meeting. I was also glad to hear from listener one. It is his first time. Listener one, if you don't mind, you can side chat that person who shared the flyer, and then they can ask them to add you to the group. If you are a non-believer, we can add you to the members group. If you're not, we can add you to the open group. We welcome everybody. Then Morioki, thank you for your contribution. Mogaka, it's always a pleasure to hear from, like you embodied today, you embodied the debate, because we said you need to listen to the opinions of somebody who disagrees with you. So thank you, Mogaka. And also MJ, who came in towards
And
the end.
and don't forget, maybe they're waiting for your response. So I told them you guys will be coming. So nangoja bado.
Oh, okay. Now, can we settle the matter here? Like, how soon can it occur? Is it on a Sunday or a Saturday, first of all?
Depends on how flexible we are, but any day is available. So long as sisi tukikubaliana, we just tell them, because they have their plans, they have their whole calendar, but we just tell them this day we want a day, they give us a day.
How about we can go with a Sunday? How about today? Tomorrow is 14th. How about 28th of June?
28th of June. Let me get back to you on that and consult and let you know. 28th of June.
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's 2 weeks from now. At least members will be able to plan themselves, and you can also pick a topic, at least so that we general direction on the day.
So.
So we look forward to that, and I think I was thanking MJ for his contribution. Towards the end, I also forgot Chilwave, who was here at the beginning, then logged off probably because of technical issues. I wish you guys a lovely night. See you next week.
Good night, everyone.